Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA TST meeting. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared live on YouTube. So please be mindful of the comments you make and information you share. So first of all, I'd like to give everybody an update on the Kafka to gRPC move and the work that we are doing. Ken, do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, sure. So we have been running a bunch of tests, and there has been, and we discovered a few errors in the code. There's some that has been introduced by the gRPC changes, but there are some that are latent in the Kafka code base. It was also there, so those have to be fixed. So there's a bunch of them that have been fixed, and the code has been uploaded to Garrett. So we have been testing with that code base, and we are getting most of the time the tests are passing, but there are some cases where some tests are failing, and there are one test in particular is on an OF agent restart that we're getting. That's the one currently that is really failing. But it's not failing all the time. So it's passed most of the time. There's a fix that Girish put in last night that seems to make it a little bit more successful. But still, it's there's some failure that when we run it. So the work keeps going, and we have run also the 50 tests that Andrea you mentioned before, and it looks like most of the time those tests are passing as well. So overall, I'll say we are in good. Things are looking good. There are just we have narrowed down to just a few tests that are failing, and once those pass, I think it would be very good to start to do code review and then eventually submit the code.
Yes, indeed. So if anybody's interested, there's a new view that I set up on Garrett on Jenkins to check a few of the jobs that we have specifically for these images. Today, these two fail, but just because I was a mistake in the trim in string, I have a patch for that. So the one I manually triggered with that fix actually passed. There are still some errors also that we are seeing in the open a new Go test, this one. And we'll have to analyze those as well. But as Ken said, I think we are in pretty good shape. We are very, very close. With the OF agent restart, a combination of Girish's fix, Mayanu's patch, and maybe even other things could set us in the right direction. So I think we're very, very close. Anything that anybody wants to add? Girish, Theo? No? Okay. Okay. There's one thing that I'd like to ask. Theo actually submitted patches for the flow reordering issue. That there is a patch in the core and the patch in the OF agent. And these also are intended to work with the newer version of the OLT app. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And so they are up on Garrett. So please take a look at them. They're from Matteo. I can put the link in here.
So anyway, those are not necessarily related to the gRPC changes. So I'm not sure in which order we want to put things in.
I would say that whichever is ready first, it would be better to have them in as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think the OF agent one is pretty straightforward. Everyone agrees there. we'll probably need to have some discussion around the core one, but we can have that on the patch comments.
Yes, no, I actually added as a topic, as a follow-up topic. So, Theo, do you want to just give everybody like a few sentences on what this is doing?
Yeah, so basically this patch is doing two things. The first one is that it's not reverting the added flows anymore if they fail installation. And this is the part that will need some discussion because it can be handled in two ways. I don't think the way it's handled right now in the patch is the best possible way. So I left a comment in there. I saw that Mahir replied to it. But basically, I think that if we don't revert the flows in the adapter and we don't remove the flow from the core, then Onos will think that the flow was successfully installed. So we'll never get a complete flow installation unless the error was a timeout. Because if the error was a timeout, the flow installation is actually proceeding fine in the adapters. It's just never reported back to the core. And that is the issue we were seeing at scale. And with this behavior, we are not seeing it anymore. But as I said, I think that this will open up for possible bugs in different scenarios. So I think we should actually remove the flow from the core if the installation fails. And there is a little bit of a discussion about that.
So you're suggesting not to remove it, like in this area of the code, if we have a flow that will get decomposed and gets sent to the two adapters, a parent adapter and a child adapter. So if there's a failure, the failure can happen on any one of them. For example, it can be maybe the child adapter that failed the flow. Then this removal here really is on the parent adapter. It's removing the successfully added flow on the parent adapter in this case. You can get a situation where both fails, then the removal doesn't really make sense, but the removal is like it's done really for the adapter that has successfully added that flow. Do you think that would be an issue, leaving that flow on that adapter, which eventually goes to the device, right?
Yeah, I think so when you have time, look at the comment. I think that's exactly the issue, that if we leave the flow in the adapter, meaning in the device, and someone removes the flow. So if it is a scenario in which the flow fails and no one touches the system and Onos keeps trying to install it and eventually succeed, then it's fine. But if we leave the flow in the adapter, meaning in the device, and then someone remove the flow from Onos, then we still have the flow in the device, but no one knows about it. So it will never be removed. That said, as it is implemented now, regardless of in which adapter it fails, it tries to remove it in both.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that causes issues, because if we try to remove a flow that doesn't exist in an adapter, then we get an error. So maybe the right solution is to change that behavior so that we remove the flow only from the adapter that succeeded.
Yeah, that would be the right approach, I believe.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. I'll give it a try today, and I'll keep you posted on the patch.
By the way, does rewrite core respond to Onos only when both the parent and child flow is installed, or it responds as and when the flow starts, responding?
In the flow add, there is no response.
Yeah, there's a response only when there's a failure.
Yeah, it's only well, there is no response at all via OpenFlow during the flow add. It's only reported via the flow stats.
Okay, so if the child flow is fails to install, so it reverts the parent flow, and so the read-write core initiates the removal of the parent flow. So initially you would see the flow as added for the parent device, and suddenly that becomes deleted. I don't know what's the behavior in ONOS with this change.
ONOS will try to push the flow again if it's not there.
Okay. Okay, so it tries to install the flow again for both parent and child.
Well, ONOS doesn't know anything about parent and child.
I mean, sorry, table 0 and table 1.
Well, yeah, that depends by the flow that failed, but yeah.
Matteo, this calls between the RW core and the adapters, they are asynchronous calls. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are asynchronous.
So we can say that we already have a race condition there. I mean, if RW core receives a flow and edit to logical device, then send the message to adapters and wait for the response, and think that one of the adapters failed. During this time, if ONOS requests the statistic, then it will see that that it's successful, and probably after a second it will be removed.
Yeah, I think that should be fine from the ONOS perspective, because the flow may temporarily go to an added state, and then at the next iteration of the flow stats, it will go back be not present, so it will go back in a pending add state, and ONOS will try to push it again. Is that right, Andrea?
Yes, that is.
So you're right, Mahir. There is a race condition there, but considering that the OpenFlow protocol is based on polling, the race condition will resolve itself.
I don't know OpenFlow well, but isn't there a response to the request from ONOS?
Not for the flow add.
Not for the flow add.
Not for the
There is a response for the flow delete strict that the controller can request, and ONOS is requesting it in the vOLTHA case.
Yeah.
And so that's the second part of the change in the core, that is actually changing the delete to be a synchronous operation, because ONOS is requesting a response, and we need to give it the correct response.
Just one comment on the flow add. If the flow add fails, the core send a OpenFlow event to ONOS for that failure.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I think they'll proceed with your patch. Let's see where this leads us, and then we can continue the discussion on the implementation that you'll do.
Yeah, I may try to put down some more scenarios for next week, so we have some more examples to discuss, something more concrete.
By the way, Matteo, I look at the OF agent patch. It looks good. I should have put a comment on it, but it looks good to me.
Yeah, thanks. That is pretty straightforward. There were just nested coroutines that we didn't really need. So then the one that is trickier is the one in the core that is we need to figure out what the right thing to do is.
Mhm.
Okay. Theo, while you have the mic, do you want to give us an update on the OLT app? I can give it, but
Well, go for it.
okay. So as of yesterday, there is a patch on Gerrit. This patch over here from Theo, which includes a complete rewrite of the OLT app. You will see differences in some classes, but these are actually classes that were fully copied over and the changes that were completely applied. Some things were deleted. This works. It has passed verification here. We have run it in several tests, and it does actually pass our test as well, especially this one, which is the scale test, the 21632 subscriber test. It does pass over there with a very few successful runs. There's one over here that we might need to investigate, but given that right now the test is consistently not passing, this is really, really good news. Go ahead, Theo.
That one that didn't pass is a configuration issue in the test.
Okay, good.
But to note, this test is also using the patch in the core, the patch in the web agent, and the patch from Girish to reorder the flow processing in the OpenNU adapter.
OpenNU adapter, yes. So with all of these things, we are actually managing to get out the latest known issue of 2.8, which is really good. So it's a combination of things, but all of them will get merged and we will have the successful runs over here. I would encourage everybody to go and take a look at the app. There will be some small announcements here and there, most likely from myself. And Theo, I just pushed a patch, for example, a few minutes ago. We will the next logical step for us is actually to take it on hardware. So we will probably schedule some hardware tests with the app to verify that also on hardware the AT&T, Turk Telecom, and Deutsche Telekom workflows actually are working. We have done tests locally and we see success, but we want to make it sure that also on hardware, with the different timing that hardware sometimes has in relationship to BBSIM, we are good. So that's the next step.
Sarendra, before going to hardware, I noticed yesterday that when we ran the full suite with the OpenNU Go test, there are still a few failures that I'm going to investigate today. I think we have 4 failures of 52 tests, and most likely they are dependent on each other. But before going to the hardware, I'll take a look at those tests.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. If anybody wants to try it out, the patch is here. You can just download it, build it, and put it on top of a running ONOS. Theo put in a README and some changes to the README file. And you also here, for example, have some commands where you see you can use to deploy this app on a running ONOS and do some of your own testing. So you're more than welcome to try it out. Anything to add, Theo?
No, except I know it's pretty annoying to review patches this big, but it would really be appreciated.
Yeah, there's really no other way than reviewing the whole patch. I have asked as a favor, we have asked as a favor to very good ONOS developers internally at ONF to review it, Pierre and Daniele, so they can also give us their opinion on the patch. And yeah, so we'll get it in pretty soon if everything goes right as well. Something that just came to mind. Any questions on the OLT app rewrite? Okay, then I thought something that came to mind. We're also in the progress of making a 2.53 release of ONOS to include some fixes that went in. One is one from Pierre related to some startup configuration of the in-order flow objective manager that was throwing some errors when it was restarted. Then one is a minor from Theo for the properties. There were some meter fixes that came in, and if my fix proves useful for the OF agent restart test, that might go in as well. So keep an eye out for a new release of vOLTHA ONOS coming pretty soon as well, and that will be both the 2.8 and master. So that's something that we will do. Most likely we will do a release of vOLTHA ONOS without the new OLT app, but the 2.5.3 version of ONOS, and then we will switch. We will move versions to a newer version of vOLTHA ONOS and release with 2.5.3 of ONOS and the new OLT app. So we at least we have something to fall back in case the OLT app shows some issues or it needs more time than what we thought. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Then one thing that came up from some Deutsche Telekom testing is that apparently there is some stale state of the ONUs in the TST after the ONU delete. I did not have the time to investigate this, so we'll do it pretty soon. But what I will do is I will ask Hardik to write some tests to enhance the tests to make sure that we actually check for TCT data after operations to make sure that we're not leaving anything behind as stale state, and that bloats the number of TCT entries and the ending up in a bigger database. So that's something that I just want everybody to be aware of. If you see this behavior, just report it, and but we'll work on it pretty soon. I don't think there is any update on the MPLS and support in vOLTHA. That's really Amit's stuff that I have he didn't provide any update on this one. Instead, on the voice over IP support, we have merged in OMCI libgo. A huge thanks to Chip. The updates to the OMCI libgo library with a great set of fixes and improvements that Chip did, including the translation of the MEs that were needed for voice over IP. That patch is not yet in the OpenONU Go. We will use it as soon as it is needed, but it is ready. So that's really good, and I think that was the first step for the voice over IP. On relationship to the voice over IP, Mahir, do you want to give us an overview of the document that you have shared with us?
Yeah, of course. Yes, this is about adding the support of plain old telephony service to the vOLTHA. You can see a picture there, an ONU with two Ethernet interfaces and the phone interface. So these interfaces are different than the Ethernet interfaces. The old telephone interfaces are there on the ONU, and you connect an analog phone to this line and can make VoIP calls on these ONUs directly. So the current requirements we have about this feature is we will be available to give VoIP service over this plain old telephony system ports. We should support more than one port in an ONU, and the operator should have the capability to give this VoIP service over the ports or over the Ethernet port, as we have now, in Türk Telekom also. It should be allowed to configure the VoIP service, the IMS system, its proxy, URL, and port, etc., and user name, password for the user. And the current VoIP implementation should be SIP-based. These are the current requirements we have. So when thinking about the change, the ports are first discovered by the ONU adapter, and currently ONU adapter discovered the Ethernet UNI ports and V ports, and advertise these ports to RW core. So now with POTS ports, ONU adapter will be capable to discover also the POTS ports and advertise this to the RW core again. During this advertisement, there is a type field in the proto, port type, which is used to represent the type of the port in vOLTHA. So here in proto, we have Ethernet UNI port types, and we probably should add a new type to here, like POTS UNI. So in vOLTHA, we can see the type of the UNI different than the Ethernet UNI. And there is also an OF port structure in vOLTHA port, which is used to advertise this port to ONOS. So in order to differentiate POTS UNI from Ethernet UNI in ONOS, we need to add, we need to differentiate some attributes, and this can be the name of the port. Andre, can you scroll down a bit to the, yes, here. Yeah, so this can be the name of the, if you can scroll a bit down, we can see the OF port structure. So there's a name there and the current feature attribute there. So we can change the name of the ports and also features of the ports, so that the owners can see the difference between the Ethernet UNI and the POTS UNI. We can, this both fields may be, changed separately, or we can change both of them according to the decision we get that here. So then we can add say, a letter or something else to the name of the port, so that we can get, for example, in Ethernet UNI cases, we have the serial number of the device dash the number of the UNI, like ABC-1 for the name of the port. And for differentiating this name, we can add, for example, P to the name of the port, so we can see that we can recognize that this port is a POTS port. And the other attribute that we can change may be the feature of the port. The features of ports now currently for Ethernet UNI, we set 1 GB fiber to the from the ONU adapter for Ethernet UNIs. And if you scroll a bit down, we can see the current features entry. So in OS protocol, we have these kinds of port features. Most of them are, I mean, of course, related to the Ethernet type or fiber type ports. So there is a OFP Cooper, type there, and we thought that we can perhaps use this feature for the pods UNIs. I don't know if it matches or not, and you may give some, detail about that if it's okay to use, Cooper type for pods or not. So, we have three proposals. One, to change the name to differentiate it. The second is change the feature, and third is change both of them. And this should be done in ONU adapter, and this is carried to ONOS through the RW core. So this information is we can see it ONOS. And at the down, you can see the EMI structure of the ONC tree for POTS units. Currently, during UNI configuration, the initial bridge setup configuration, we only do, MAC bridge port configuration, MAC bridge service profile configuration, and PPTP Ethernet UNI EMIs. But this is done after the discovery of the ONU is done, and this is done automatically, before the technology profile or all of the flows are pushed to ONU. So when the ONU adapter discovers the ONU, it discovered it is port, it starts to make this initial configuration for each UNI port. And if this UNI port is POTS UNI, we need to make some different initial configuration and change the final state machine accordingly. And there are pretty more EMIs here for C. More than 10 EMIs should be created in this stage. If you can scroll a bit down, you can see the EMIs for the hotspot. And this part, I think we can discuss or go over the document in ONU adapter brigade also. So these are
I will
specific, specific things. Yeah.
I will add this to the agenda for tomorrow.
Yeah. And for we also have some change. We need some change from RW core side. First, there are, when looking code, you can see Ethernet UNI checks in some of the methods. They are the route computing methods and port state update methods, etc. And because for RW core, a ports UNI is same as the Ethernet UNI, so the logics that are running for Ethernet UNI should run also for ports UNI. So we have to change, make the change about, the places that we have Ethernet UNI checks and do something accordingly. And also we need a northbound API here for vOLTHA to provision the service for the subscriber. And this API should include the C proxy address, its port, the current username, and its password towards the vOLTHA. And the current design we are proposing is to add this API, and with this API, add this information to KV store with ONU and plus UNI key, so that when ONU adapter make the configuration about pods UNIs, it can get the current service and subscriber information from KV store and configure the service. This is like a kind of technology profile configuration. You know, we carry the technology profile ID flow, but here we thought not to carry an ID and anything else in flow. Actually, we don't have too much, say, attributes or space in flows to put something else. Instead of this, we thought that if a configuration or a technology profile download is configured for any UNI, and if this is pods UNI, we can get the service and subscriber information with ONU and UNI key from the KV store and do the service configuration accordingly. And that are the changes should be done in RW core, and then all the other changes. And we think there is no effect of pods UNI change in OLT adapter currently. Yes, that's all from me. And if there are any questions.
I had a couple questions related to some of the on-site support needed. When you do VoIP over OMCI, there's quite a few numbers of alarms that can be generated. I don't know if you're going to need to support alarms, and then there's some other ones such as AVCs that come out specifically, I guess, in a couple of them. There are some AVCs related to whether an emergency call is supported or is currently being performed. Because if you need to worry about emergency call notification, that impacts the reboot and reset commands in the ONU. So, of course, with a lot of VoIP services, they say, the emergency support call is not guaranteed. I don't know.
Okay. Actually, we didn't think about this emergency calls, etc. I don't know if they have effects on vOLTHA or not, but I mean, if you have any idea or how it goes, I mean, you're welcome to share ideas with us. And for alarms and also for PM counters, I mean, there are also some MEs to collect the PM counters about RTP, I think, and SIP also, SIP service also. We thought we can add this later for the next phase. Currently, we need to implement the service, then we can add the PM and alarm related things.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and comment on the document, especially now that you've got the with the list of managed entities that you're using. I'll also go back to make sure those 100% decoded well for you.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Have trouble.
Very welcome.
One thing on the emergency calls that Mayer, you were asking if they could have an impact on VoLTHA. I do see that let's say the ONU for some of these things blocks any other type of operation. It might fail some operation in VoLTHA, but I don't expect that to be an issue. We could just retry that reboot operation after some time. So maybe Chip, if you have some details, you can comment them on the docs, and then we can take it further. But I agree with Mahir that we should start with the base implementation of the service, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
take it from there in terms of emergency calls and also alarms and PMs, as we have done in the past for others.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll go ahead and try to add some of that information. I'll try to get to it today, so it might be ready tomorrow. But I agree with having a feature than coming out with more if people need it.
Okay.
Perfect.
So one thing that I had on as a comment, right now, I would have expected that all of our uni boards would have been of actually type copper, because they connect a Cat5, Cat whatever cable. So it's not
But
that.
it
Yeah,
isn't
no?
that the 1G
They are
full duplex?
they are currently marked with 2 bits. One is fiber, and the other is 1G.
So right now we're using this one for the UNIs.
Not 2 of them. I mean, we OR them. Okay, we OR the 1 gigabit, and there is also a fiber, only fiber. You know,
This one.
just one line below the copper. Yeah. So we set these 2 bits on the flag.
Okay. So what you will set, it would actually only be, well, fiber. I don't really agree. I would be okay. I'm okay setting this one, but we are representing.
Andrea, I think there are some ONUs that have a fiber port on them. That
Okay. Are we making that distinction?
No, currently we don't. I don't know if this is. I mean, this appear in any structure of the ONU or not, but we don't check if the Ethernet. I mean, if it's Ethernet or fiber has anything else. We hard coded make it fiber and 1G for all Ethernet UNIs.
Okay. So let me check on this and make sure that it's correct and it's what I expect it to be. I would be okay then using copper as the type instead of the full duplex, and we can say it's used for the plain old telephone service. But I do think that this one is still needed, because there might be cases where we would need copper for like VDSL or things like that. And I still think that adding a further element in there could be good.
Yes, I mean we can add P for hotspot and also E for Ethernet UNI. I don't know.
I think we can leave the default to be Ethernet NNI without UNI without changing it, and then you just go for the -P for the pods.
Okay.
What do other things? What does everybody else think about this?
so
Maybe
I would rather not base it only on the name, because it seems a little flaky.
no. I would say a combination of copper and -P.
Yeah,
So
I would agree too.
I would go for proposal 3.
I would agree.
One question to Bjorn, given that you are on the call, is DT interested in any of this? If you're trying to speak, okay. Oh, hey, Paul. I didn't see you on the call. Sorry.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, now you are.
Okay. Yeah. Hard to find the mute button. No, we are not. For the pod stuff, we don't have any plan to use that. So for pods, we are just using the tunnel and terminating that on the gateway and on the other side on our service edge. So we don't need functionality regarding pods.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so that's all I had for today. Anything that anybody wants to add to the meeting, or anything that anybody wants to bring up for discussion before we break?
A small thing, Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I uploaded a patch about carrying a file platform Go. It's in the it exists in OLT adapter and ONU adapter, both of the adapters, and have same say constant, same functions on it. So it's kind of duplicated file. So I decided to carry it to the libgo. I mean, if there is no objection.
I think it's totally fine. Girish has a few comments. If you can address those, I think we can go ahead and merge it. I would say we maybe wait for Kafka to gRPC, just because it's a libgo change and it's not urgent, and so we give a little less headache on on this to Ken. But apart from that, I think we can just go ahead and merge. It's very good to me. And then whenever we switch to this version of vOLTHA libgo, we just remove it from both the platform and then the adapters. But I think it's good stuff. It's good simplification. It avoids issues of duplication. Anybody has any comments? No? Okay, then please go take a look at the patch from Mahir. It's pretty straightforward, just a file. So if you can just +1 it, and then so we have a free reign of merging it whenever we feel it's the most convenient time. Okay. Then thanks everybody. Let's continue great work. Let's push onwards on the OLT API merging and especially the Kafka to gRPC, given that there are a few things that are pending on that in terms of merges. But I think we're in very good shape, and we're doing some very good stable elements that will bring vOLTHA forward in the next time. So it's really, really good. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again on Slack or the mailing list. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye bye.